Hank the Plumber here for Set Right Products. This video comes from our longer version, and it's about the problems with toilet flange installation when they are leaking, too low, or broken, and how to fix them using our toilet flange extender kits. It's pretty easy. We'll show you how.
Well, the main problem is here in the beginning where we have an existing toilet flange and then we've tiled the floor and now the toilet is higher than the flange. What's supposed to happen is a toilet flange is supposed to be installed on top of the finished floor, and then your wax ring would go on and then your toilet would go on top of that. So what happens, people today with renovation redo the bathroom floors and now the floors are higher than the flanges. Your choice here is to cut out the floor, cut out the piping, cut out the ceiling below, or jackhammer it if it's concrete, and then redo the piping, which is very costly and expensive. So with our system, we've designed this system to go on top of the existing flange. And it doesn't matter what kind of flange it is. It could be lead, cast iron, PVC. It could be a deteriorated flange with rust and corrosion on it. Our product will solve that problem. Any toilet flange should always be installed on top of the finished floor. We have an example here which shows the finished floor is a wood flooring, and what we've done is we have the toilet flange which is now sitting on top of the finished floor. The reason you want to do that is because when I install the toilet, I'll put a wax ring on top of the existing flange. The toilet will go on top of that. The toilet is supposed to recess into the area inside the flange and not be above it. That makes a permanent seal in an area for the wax to be located on top of the flange. So we're going to solve that problem for all the people that have done it improperly. Now what we do here is we'll show you the problem scenario. We have an existing toilet flange. We've retiled the floor and now the toilet is about, I'd say, 2 inches higher than the existing flange. Most people would put double wax rings or other spacers with silicone, and we're going to show you the code-approved way to do that. And if you follow me down here, you'll see what we've done is we have a existing flange on the floor. We've now tiled the floor so the floor is higher than the flange. And what we're going to do, our first step would be to install a gasket on top of the flange. You do that if the flange is in good condition. If it's a PVC flange, a metal flange, it doesn't matter, as long as the flange is not deteriorated and it's suitable to be used. After you install the gasket, our next step would be to install a spacer on top of that. What you want to do is select a spacer. We have 4 different size spacers up here. They go from 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and 3/4 inch. You can select any spacer to go on top of your gasket, and you select the one that brings you up close to the finished floor height. After you install the spacer, you'll now go over and you'll install our specially designed extender. We have an extender, it's a yellow extender, which will go down through the inside of the gasket, and as we push it down, it makes a seal, so it's water and gas tight, and we push it all the way down until it sits on top of the spacer. At that point, we secure it to the floor with our 410 stainless self-drilling screws, which go down through the flange, through the existing flange into the floor to make a tight, secure installation. And then we also have the spacers that can also be used for underneath the toilet. So our spacers are also designed, if you notice over here, with 4 different spacers, we're able to adjust the height of any toilet flange on new construction. Now what happens is, on new construction, a plumber is going to measure from the back wall out to the center, and he's going to measure his rough dimensions, which is usually 12 to 12.5 inches. He's going to put a dot, and he's going to attempt to cut a hole. After he cuts the hole, that piece of wood with the dot falls through the floor. They no longer have a location where it is. They will try to fit the flange. When the flange doesn't fit, they'll pick up a Sawzall and they'll cut the hole bigger. By the time they're done cutting it, it looks like a football. Now they've eliminated some of the wood that they need to secure the flange. All of our spacers are designed as a layout tool. There's marks on our spacers at 12, 3, 6, and 9. What we do is we lay our spacer on the floor. We now measure the rough for the toilet from the back wall to 3 o'clock on our spacer. We also measure from the back wall to 9 o'clock on our spacer. Now that's our square mark across parallel to the back wall. From the side wall, we'll measure to 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. We'll scribe the inside circle, and when we're done, we have a perfect pattern for a perfect cut every time. Now we cut our hole, and you'll have the perfect cut, and you'll still have your marks around it to show you where the flange is to be installed. So, if we're going to install half-inch wonderboard, quarter-inch style, which is typical floor installation, we'll select that spacer. So that would be 3/4 of an inch. On the spacer, you'll see that there's a Johnny Bolt indentation at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. It says layout, and it has an arrow on it. You put that back on your marks at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. You take the toilet flange, and you'll take the Johnny Bolt location of the toilet flange and overlay it over the indentation of the spacer. Set the flange down on top. The holes are pre-drilled now, and you'll secure this to the floor. The advantage for the installer here is you never have to drill the tile. Today's market, we're installing porcelain, marble, granite, which means a lot of the floors need to be drilled with a wet diamond drill bit. In order to do that, it costs money and it takes time. So we've designed this now that we have everything pre-drilled. You'll screw this to the floor, and the tile man will tile around the outside and never have to worry about cracked tiles on installation. Now the next thing that this spacer system will do for you is every one of our spacers are designed to snap in half. So if I have a flange and I go to your house and I tear out your bathroom floor and the flange is floating in the air, what I'll do is I'll take a spacer, I'll snap the spacer in half, slide it underneath from the side, screw it to the floor, and let the tile man tile around the outside. Now the last thing that the spacers are going to do for you, if I had a tile here and I was a tile man installing the floor, I would overlay the tile on top of the existing flange that I just installed. I'd take one of my spacers, I'd overlay that over the top, and now I have a tile layout tool for the perfect cut. I'll scribe that mark, I'll go to my wet saw once, and I'll have the perfect cut every time.